Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Vap Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make a full-scale basic bodice block. This is an updated version. With this full-scale basic bodice block, you can achieve a perfect fit for your outfit. I hope this is something you are interested in learning. If this is it, ensure to stay tuned till the end. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button to subscribe and ensure you put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And for the records, subscription is free. So please click on the subscribe button to subscribe to support my channel. With that being said, let's get right into the video. So these are the measurements we are going to be working with. The first measurement I have here is my shoulder measurement, which is 16. Bust is 39 inches. My waist is 34.5 and my hip is 48 inches. Then shoulder to my bust point is 11 inches. Shoulder to my waistline, which is my front half length, is 17 inches. And then shoulder to my back half length is 15 inches, which is a difference of 2 inches. This is 17 and this is 15. Then the next measurement I have here is shoulder to hip line, and for me is 25. And then shoulder to knee is 40 inches. Okay, so first drawing my starting line, which is the shoulder line. So these are shoulder line. So to determine the width of the box, because we're going to be drafting the front and back pattern on this pattern paper. So to determine the width of the box, we're going to use the biggest measurement we are working with here. And the biggest measurement here is my hip measurement. So I'll divide this hip by two, and that will give me 24 inches. So 24, I'm going to add about 2 inches to that measurement to determine the width of my box. So 2 inches to this measurement, that will give me 26 inches. So here I'm just going to draw a margin line. So this point is going to be our center front where all our measurement is. You can ignore this line. You can use the starting point of your paper, but I just like to have this straight line so you know where your measurements are starting from. So from this part now, from this line I have here, I'm going to measure 26 inches. So this is where 26 inches ends here. I'm going to measure 26 inches again. So I'll use my straight ruler to connect the points. So now we can see that we have our 26 inches, which is the width of our box. I'm going to divide these 26 inches into two. So that will give me 13 inches. Okay, so we now have our demarcation line. So this is going to be our center front. So I'm going to label it CB and CF and then CB. This is going to be our center back. We have our front and this is going to be our back. So now the first measurement I'm going to enter is my chest line measurement. And to get the chest line, you divide the bust circumference by 6 plus 2.5. And for me, it's 39. 39 divided by 6 plus 2.5, and that gave me 9 inches. So I'll mark 9 inches here. The next measurement I'm going to enter is my bust point. And from shoulder to bust point is 11 inches. Next is my front waistline. My front waistline is 17 inches. So I'll mark 17. Next is my hip line. My hip line is 25 inches. And then this is the full length, which is this. My paper stops at 39, so that's okay. Okay, so I'll go ahead and straighten out the lines. So these are chest lines. So I'll label the CL, BL bust line, and then waist line. This is also a hip line here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter half of my shoulder measurement. So shoulder divided by 2 is 8 inches. And then I'm going to mark the neck width also on the shoulder line here. So here where I have the shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slant, for the front shoulder slant. And then I'll connect it to the neck width here. So having done that, I'll come down to the chest line and enter the same shoulder measurement on the chest line. So the shoulder divided by 2, that's also 8 inches. So I'll mark 8 inches here. And then I'll connect this 8 inches to the shoulder slant I have here. Okay, so this is my front armhole line. So the next thing I'm going to do from the chest line here, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. From the chest line, I'm going up by 3 inches. I'll mark 3 inches at this point. Then at this 3 inches mark, I'll go in by 3/4 of an inch. This is to eliminate any form of bulge around the armhole. So I'll mark 3/4 of an inch here. I'll connect this point to the shoulder tip here. And then I'll curve the armhole to meet the chest line. And to do that, I'm going to enter my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust is 39. When divided by 4, I'll have 9 3/4. So I'll place my armhole curve this way and connect them. So this is now our front armhole. Okay? So now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the nipple to nipple measurement. And the nipple to nipple, which is my bust span, is 8 inches. 8 divided by 2, that's going to be 4 inches. So here on the waistline, I'm going to mark 4 inches here. I'll also mark it on the bust line here. I'll repeat the same thing here on the hip line as well. So I'll just use my straight ruler to connect the points like this. So now to do our dart intake. This depends on how much tightening you want to do. You can do a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. That's 1 inch here, 1 inch here. You can do half inch, or 3/4, 3/4, depending on how tight fitting you want this outfit to be. Okay, so for me, I'll be doing 3/4 on both sides. So that's going to be a total of 1.5 inches. So I'll mark 3/4 here on the waistline. Take note that I'm marking it on the waistline, and then I'll mark 3/4 also on this side. So that's a total of 1.5 inches. So from the bust point here, I'll come down by 1 inch. And then also from the hip line here, I will go up by 2 inches. So I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect my darts. So I'll connect it also to the down part like this. Okay, so you can see that the dart, the upper part of the dart stopped 1 inch below the bust point, and the down part of the dart stopped 2 inches above the hip point. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter all our horizontal measurements. And here on the bust line, I'm going to enter the bust measurement divided by 4, and that's 9 3/4. Then on the waistline, my waist is 34.5. So when you divide 34.5, that will give us 34.5 divided by 4. That will give us 8.625. So that's 8 and less than quarter. Okay, so I'm going to mark it here. So now you can see that I have a dart intake of 1.5. I'll replace back that 1.5. If you don't replace it back, it means that there's going to be a shortage. So you can see I place back that measurement here. So here on my hip line, I'm going to enter my hip divided by 4 as well. And that's 12 inches. So now on the knee line here, this depends on whether you want your outfit to be straight or you want it to be tapered. That's the pencil shape. So if you want it to be narrower around there, you're going to reduce the measurement. Whatever you have here, you subtract 1.5 from it, or 2 inches, depending on the size of your thigh. If you have a curvy lady that has a small thigh, you can subtract 2 inches from this measurement. But if the person is on the plus size and it has big laps, you can just remove 1.5 from that measurement. I hope we get that. So here, what I have here is 12 inches. So I'm going to subtract 1.5 from that measurement. So that will leave me with 10.5. So I'll go ahead now and connect the points. Then connect to the waistline. And then I'll connect to the bust here also. Okay, so this is what my pattern looks like. So remember I talked about the front half length and the back half length. So the difference between my front and back is 2 inches. And what brought about this difference is the bust. So that 2 inches is going to be my side dart. So from the bust point line here, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. You see, I'll mark 2 inches here. And then from the nipple to nipple point here, I will also come out by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect from this 1 inch to this 2 inches mark I have here. So having done that, I'll get the midpoint of my dart here, which is 1 inch. And I'll go out by 3/4 of an inch. This is just to indicate that there's a dart here. And then I'm going to connect like this from the dart here. I'll connect it to this point, and then I'll also connect it like this to the chest line. So this is just to show that we have a dart here. So now for the neckline, I already have a neck width of 3 inches. So I'm going to mark a neck depth of same 3 inches. So now this is what our front pattern looks like. Okay, so we're done with the front. Now let's go ahead to draft the back. So these are center back. So our measurement to start from the center back. Our front started this way. Our back will have to start this way. So here from the shoulder line, I'm going to, that's from the center back here, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, and then I'll mark 3 inches for my neck width. Having done that, next I'm going to go ahead and mark my chest line. Already we know that the chest line is 9 inches. So placing my tape from the shoulder line, I'm going to mark 9 inches. Then the next measurement is my back half length, which is 15 inches. So I'm going to mark 15 inches. The difference between my front and back is 2 inches. So you can see my front half length is 17, while the back half length is 15 inches. So this is where my back waistline stops, and then this is our chest line, maintaining the same level. Okay, so now to mark the hip line at the back, this is what you're going to do. You're going to measure what you have from here to here. That's from the front waistline to this point. What I have here from my waistline to my hip line is 8 inches. So I'm going to enter that measurement here. 8 inches. Take note of what I'm doing. I'm placing my tape from my waistline. So what does this mean? This now means that my back hip line is starting at 23 inches. And then I'll also confirm what I have from here to here. I'm going to measure it. I have 13 and 3/4. So I'll place the same 13 and 3/4 here. Okay. So this is our chest line, waistline, hip line, and then knee line here. So already I marked the shoulder measurement here. You can see that. So at this shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. So for the back shoulder slant, I'm coming down by 1 inch. Remember the front, I came down by 1.5. So this is 1 inch here. So here on the chest line, I'm going to still mark the shoulder measurement here, which is 8 inches. So I'm going to connect now to the shoulder tip like this. So this is going to be our back armhole line. So to curve our back armhole, what I'm going to do, I'll measure from this shoulder slant to this point, to the chest line. I'll get the midpoint. So you can see from here to here, I have 8 inches. So I'm just going to get the midpoint of my 8 inches, which is 4, go in by half of an inch. So this is half inch here. And then I'll connect it back to the shoulder tip like this. And then to curve it to the chest line, I'm going to enter quarter of my bust measurement, which is 9 and 3/4. So I'll bring in my armhole curve and then connect it like this. So this is now my back armhole. So you can see that my back armhole is 8 inches in length. And then for the front, you can see that it is 7.5 inches because I have a shoulder slant here of 1.5 and then I have a shoulder slant here of 1 inch. So this back will come over to the front to give it that nice fit. So you notice that the armhole will not have any excess anywhere to sit perfectly well. Okay, so having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the nipple to nipple measurement, which is the bust span, and that's 8 inches. 8 divided by 2, that's 4. So from the center back, I'm marking 4 inches. I'll also mark it here on the chest line, and I'll mark it as well on the hip line. I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect the points. Okay, so having marked the point here, so remember I used 3/4 here, that's 1.5 inches, that intake. I'll repeat the same thing here. So on the back waistline, I'll mark 3/4 on this side and 3/4 also on this side. So from the hip line, I will also go up by 2 inches. Then here at the back chest line, I will just come down by half inch. So I'm going to connect my dart. I'm starting with the down part of the dart. I'll connect this 3/4 inch to this 2 inches mark I have here, and then connect it also like this, and then so this is our back waist guard. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter all my measurements. So at this point here, you can see that I've already marked the bust measurement, which is 9 3/4. Then I'll come here to the waistline. I'm going to mark the waist measurement, which is this. Remember, I have a dart intake of 1.5. I'll repeat it here. I'll add it back. Then on the hip line, my hip divided by 4 is 12 inches. And then remember, I removed 1.5 from that measurement in front, so I'll repeat the same thing here. So I'm going to mark 10.5 here. I'm just going to use my straight ruler to connect it. Okay, so this is what our back pattern looks like. So remember I mentioned that this dart intake of 3/4 on both sides, that's a total of 1.5. It's not compulsory. This depends on your size because we want this outfit tight. So that's why I'm using a dart intake of 1.5 in total. So you can use your half-inch here, half-inch here. So that will be 1 inch. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is to tighten the back. We are not straight at the back. If you don't tighten this back, you have this fold at the back. Despite the fact that we have our back half length, you still want to make sure the back is tightened so that your zipper does not bulge. So from the center back here, from this red mark, I'm going to come in by half-inch. Can you see? I'll come in by half-inch. And then I'm going to connect it above the hip line, just like an inch above the hip line. You see that? And then I'm going to take it all the way to the neckline. Okay, so because this is where our spinal cord is, if you look at your back, you notice that that spinal cord area is a little deep. So just take it all the way to the neckline. Sometimes, depending on the fabric you're working with, you can stop at the midpoint of this your arm. But I always like to take it all the way to the neckline so that the back is as flat as possible. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter our zip allowance. But before we enter the zip allowance, we need to tighten the butt. That's to help the butt. That's to give it that bomb illusion effect. You want the butt to come out well. We're not straight at the back. You can see that this center back is straight. So it's not showing that there's a bomb there. So you need to tighten that back so that the butt will come out really well so that it's not straight at the back. So here I'll come to the knee line here and then I'll go in by 1 inch. Can you see? At the knee line here, I'm going in by 1 inch. So if this is a long gown, you mark this 1 inch on the knee line and also mark it on the hem line. But this is a short gown. So here at this 1 inch mark I have here, I'm going to connect it to the hip line. Can you see the shape I have now at the back? Can you see? So now you can see that the back is no longer looking straight and flat. It's showing that there is a butt there. But if we take out this 1 inch and we don't replace it back, that means we now have 9.5 here. And in front here, we have 10.5, so which is already a shortage. It means that we are reducing the back more than we should reduce. So this 1 inch I removed from here, I'm transferring it back to this side. So I'm going to use a different color of pen so that we can see the difference. So this 1 inch, I'll return it back here. Can you see that? So take note that I connected from here to the hip line. So this 1 inch, I'm also going to connect from here to the hip line as well. So can you see? So now this is now the new side back line. So I'm no longer going to be cutting on this line. I'll be cutting on this line because we have transferred back our 1 inch to this point. So now the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and add our zip allowance. So you can see with all this contouring, you can see that our back is no longer straight. So now this black line is now our new center back line. So from this new center back line, I'm going to enter my zip allowance of 1 inch. So please take note of what I'm doing. So from this center back here on the waistline, I came out by 1 inch. At this point here, just follow the lines the way it is. I'll mark my 1 inch. Here, I'll also mark 1 inch, 1 inch. And then I'll come here to the hip line. I'll mark the same 1 inch. And then here at this point, I'll mark the same 1 inch. So you can see at this point, it still brought me back to the previous line because it's that same 1 inch I came out by. So now let's go ahead and connect it so that we can see what it looks like. So can you see? So can you now see that our zip allowance, we have added back our warning, but you can see that our back is not straight. Every part is tightened, and this shows that there's a hip at the back or there's a butt at the back, and we have that nice shape. So let's just label this part zip allowance, that's ZA. Okay. Then the next thing we're going to do before we go ahead and cut out our pattern is to mark our back neckline. So to know the back neckline you'll be using, because here we use 3 inches. And how did I come about my 3 inches? To know the neckline that will sit exactly on your collarbone, my bust is 39 inches. 39 divided by 12. And see, that gave me 3.25. So that's why I use 3 inches. So this 3 inches mark I have here, I'm going to divide it by 3. So that let's divide this 3.25 by 3. And see, that gave me 1.08. So my back neck depth is going to be 1 inch. So whatever you are using in front here, if the neckline is going to sit on the collarbone, just make sure to adjust, divide the front neckline by 3. So you get the back neckline or the back neck depth, okay? Of course, the width are always the same. So this is 1 inch. So I'm going to connect it like this. So this is what our back neckline looks like. So you can see we're done with drafting our pattern. Right now you can see that my pattern does not have any sewing allowance. All my sewing allowance will be added to the fabric. So this depends on how much allowance you want to add. So if you're adding your allowance, you just come here, place your 2 inches or 1 inch if that's what you want to use. So you come here and mark 1 inch. If you're using 1 inch or 2 inches, you mark, and then on the shoulder line here you add your half inch, because you need half inch to join your sleeve. You add half inch around the armhole like this. Okay, so you also add half inch around the armhole. That's what you do. Add your half inch. You can add also around the neckline. So this depends on what you're doing, but for me this pattern is without any sewing allowance. So we can now go ahead and cut out our basic bodies. So I'll be starting with the shoulder slant here. Then the front armhole. And then here, I'm just going to follow the shape I have here, so that by the time we close our dart, we can now cut out our excess. So here, we're going to cut the neckline. So this is what our front looks like. So now we'll go ahead and close up the darts. So these are darts here. So to close the dart can be done in 2 ways. You can decide to cut it open before closing it like this, or you just fold this line. And you see the line I have here, these are dart lines. So I'll just fold it like this, fold it and place it over this. Then place it over the bust point line. You see? So by closing this dart, you see the shape I have here. Can you see? So you see the nice lift is given to the bust. You see? It's showing that there's a bust here by closing that. So I said you can either use your masking tape and tape it down, which means that you have stitched it, or you cut the dart open. So you can see that my pattern is no longer flat because the bust dart has been closed. So this is to show that there's a breast around here. Can you see what I have here? Can you see? So I already mentioned that you can cut the dart open and use your masking tape to close up that space, or you just fold over the dart line on top of the bust point, and this is what you will have. I'm sure you can see what my pattern looks like. Can you see the bust area? So now this extra that I have here, remember that I came out here to indicate that there's a dart here. So you can see that by closing the bust that my pattern has shifted. So I'm just going to blend up this part. I'm just going to blend it up like this. So can you see? Because I shifted, so I'm blending it up like this. Then I'll go ahead and trim out the excess I have here. So this is what our front pattern looks like. So we'll go ahead and cut out the back as well. And then I'll cut here. This is where the hemline. So cut out the shoulder slant. We'll cut out the neckline. So now we're going to be cutting on the zip allowance, following the shape that we have here. Okay, so this is what our back pattern looks like. So you can see our center back is not straight. So let me just take this part down so that I can show us what it looks like. Now this is shifting. Okay, so this is what our back pattern looks like. So can you see that right now you can see that our hip lines, they are matching up. Our waistline too, they are also matching up. Can you see that they are also matching up? And then the side here, can you see that they are matching up because we have closed our dart. Can you see what our armhole looks like? Can you see how beautiful our armhole is? So you can see that the front armhole is smaller than the back. The difference is half inch. Okay, so let me trim out this part I didn't cut out. Can you see? So now you can see that from the chest line to the waistline for the back, you can see they are on the same level now because the difference, which is that dart of 2 inches, has been closed. So if you stitch your dart, of course, the side will balance up and the hip lines too will align. Can you see? Our hip line here is matching up our waistline, our chest line, and then the hemline. Everything is just sitting perfectly. And this is what this side looks like. You can see, showing that there's a bust around here. So now when cutting your fabric, you're going to cut this on fold. This is your center, this is your front piece, so it will be cut on fold. So this is just one side of the front because we are drafting on the pattern paper. So make sure to cut on fold. Let me just indicate with this arrow to show that it's on fold. This also, you cut two pieces, one for the left and one for the right, meaning you're going to still place your fabric on fold. Then add your necessary allowances. I already said that you need to add your allowance at the side here. Also add half inch here to the armhole area because you need it for joining your sleeves. Okay, so this is it. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please make sure to like this video, share this video with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.